Hey everyone, this is Dr. B from Steps to the Future coming to you with this week's C3 with Dr. B. Now, for those of you that are new to the broadcast, you know that C3 stands for Career Awareness, Career Development, and Career Exploration. And the reason why I focus on that is because whether our students go to a 4-year school, a 2-year school, a technical college, the military, become an apprentice, they're all going to work. So everything that you hear from us is eventually going to help students in their work life, in their career life. So that's why I focus on those three items. This evening, I am like so thrilled because I have with me some of my wonderful colleagues from the Black IECs Affinity Group, and we are all members of the Independent Educational Consultants Association. This evening, we're going to just share our expertise on what students should be thinking about as they transition to college, because it is not like going to the 13th grade. It is definitely a whole different world. And we just want to make sure students and parents are prepared for this transition. Now, we'll try to hit on as many of the components and factors that we think you should be talking about. But please, if you have something that you want to share, we love for you to comment and let us know what you're thinking. Those of you that are watching this live, thank you so much for watching it live. And please make sure you share it out to folks. If you happen to watch this on the replay, please make sure you still give us your comments. You know, I'm always monitoring this, and we will definitely make sure that we get back to you. So give us a few seconds. I hope everyone has their pen and pencil ready, or whatever mode of note-taking they use. But see, the great thing about this is it's on video. You can always watch the replay, so you can just sit back and relax. So we will be back with you shortly in a few seconds. Hey, and here we are. It is so thrilling to be here with all of you. Ladies, you're all looking lovely this evening. So look at those beautiful smiling faces. So folks, the Black IECs Affinity Group started a couple of years ago as we saw membership of Black IECs increasing in the Independent Educational Consultants Association. We wanted to put together a group that was for us, by us, you know, that whole FUBU thing. And IECA allows people to have affinity groups. So this is just a small sampling of the people that are in our group. One of our colleagues that was going to be here with us this evening, Antoinette Batiste, is actually flying back from the East Coast to the West Coast, but she will definitely be with us on a future broadcast. So just so you get to know who's here, you know me, Dr. B. I'm going to start as I see you on my screen. So Rosellen, could you introduce yourself and tell folks a little bit about you?
Hello, everyone. My name is Rosellen McCombie, and I am an IEC who's based out of Central Florida. My specialties include working with homeschoolers, student athletes, or those students who may be interested in attending a military academy. It's my pleasure to be on the show with my esteemed colleagues, and I look forward to a great conversation.
Thank you. And now we're going to move on to Amy.
Good evening. I am Amy Jasper. I'm located in Richmond, Virginia. I work with students nationwide, virtually, and I focus primarily on students who plan to attend four-year colleges. I do some work with athletes because my son was a Division I athlete. But in general, I enjoy working with all students who have various plans. And I would love to say that this is my living room, but alas, it is not. It is a virtual background.
And it's a beautiful virtual background.
Thank
I
you.
love that piano. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Cynthia.
Yes. Yes. My company, it focuses on college students interested in going to four-year college. And let's see what else I can say. I'm just excited to be here tonight, basically, to learn more from my esteemed colleagues and to share what I can when I can.
Okay. Thank you so much. And Angela.
Hello, everyone. Angela Bird here. I am in the Charlotte area of North Carolina. I work with high school students as well as they transition to college. And most of my students do apply to HBCUs, but I am a generalist. And that's about it.
Okay, thank you so much, Angela. And we're going to move on. Oh, I love just technology when it wants to act right. And now we're going to move on to Lisa.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me okay. My internet is spotty because I'm in a hotel, so bear with me. Okay, my name is Lisa Thomas. I am in the San Francisco Bay Area, and the name of my business is Educated Mindset Consulting. And I have been in higher ed for about 20 years and serving different families and students over the years. So I'm happy to share whatever insights I have with your C3 audience today.
Thank you so much, Lisa. So and I think I've gotten everyone, right? Yeah. And you guys know me, Dr. B, I've been doing this for quite a while. I've been in education for 40 plus years. I hate saying that number, but it's true. Um, and have been, a counselor, a social studies teacher, counselor educator, and now IEC, and love the work I do and love having the opportunity to work with these women. Um, as we all serve our families and hope that what we do benefits all of our students. So this evening, we're going to talk a little bit about, okay, you're in college. You received your offer, you have your acceptance, you've made your deposit. Now what? This is when the fun begins. So one of the things that, one of the first things we want people to think about is orientation. Everyone's going to go to orientation. So folks, any words of wisdom to anyone about what they should be expecting at orientation or how they should prepare themselves for orientation? And anyone can jump in.
For me, a lot of my students, when I speak with them about what to expect and they sign up for their orientation and they're so excited. Oh, Miss Bird, we already signed up for our orientation. I hope I get to meet my roommate, or I hope I get to meet, one of my professors. But I really try to encourage them to take the time and kind of learn the campus, because although they'll be going again later in the summer, it's a chance for them to at least get a little bit of a head start on where things are located. So that might be something that they don't think about as they're planning to make that transition.
That is so important, Angela, because just think, no matter what size the campus is, you have to get to class on time, but you have to know where those buildings are. If you happen to be sick, you have to know where the nurses, where the student health building is. So it is important to get a lay of the land. One of the things I recommend to students, before they even visit, download the campus map. Just so you can have a visual of where everything is. You can see where the buildings are. You can see where the parking areas are. You can see if it borders, a city or a town, what buildings do. Um, is the dining halls away from where the residential areas are? So finding out all of that information. Anyone else have anything else they'd like to say about what to expect at orientation?
I like to I like to tell students to remember that everyone is new, that everyone is a freshman, everyone wants to have a friend, and everyone, just wants to feel a part of it. So just be open to that, and realize you all are in the same boat. Most orientations have orientation aides or some type of upper class students who, really work to have great energy and really, try to help students feel like they belong. And so I just encourage kids to take advantage of that and just be open and meet people and know that everyone is in the same boat.
Yeah.
And one of the things I like to remind parents is a lot of times at orientation, there are separate sessions for the students and separate sessions for the parents. So parents, you don't always get the opportunity to be with your student the whole time. They're adulting now. This is step one. They're pushing that young person out of the nest, and you gave them roots, so here are their wings. Let them fly and figure out what they need to do. Now, one of the things that I um, like to let parents know about and students to even think about are two documents or two things that they need to think about in terms of records. So FERPA and HIPAA.
Yes. Yes.
For anyone that's worked in the any kind of an educational system, what FERPA is a Family Educational Rights to Privacy Act. So like when I was a high school counselor, I couldn't just talk to somebody about my students' academic records unless I had permission to do that. If I wanted to talk to a student's physician, we had to have a release of information because FERPA protected their educational records. And if parents decided they didn't want those records shared with someone, then they weren't going to be shared with someone. And I think it's going to surprise a lot of parents to realize they can't just call the school and say, "Hey, what are my students' grades?" Anybody want to talk about that?
I'll just say that I think that's hard for a lot of parents, at least a lot of my parents, to understand that colleges treat their children as adults, whether they're 18 or not. They just off the bat are going to treat them as adults. Obviously, when they turn 18, I guess it's more important that they still understand that if their child has anything health wise going on, then they want to make sure that they have the HIPAA that allows them to speak to the doctors or anybody in charge of their care. Um, and it's just really important. You don't want it to get to the point where you have to have that information, or you feel like you have to, and not have it on record.
Yeah, that is so true. That is so true. Anyone else like to chime in?
Well, piggybacking on that, I think it's really important during orientation that both students and parents are familiar with the academic policies of the institutions, the discipline policies of the institutions ahead of time, so that if an instance does occur, they are aware of their rights and rules within those given situations.
That is so true. And that is so important because students, again, it's not going to be the same as at your high school. It's not going to be the same as your friend's college. Every college and university has their own policies. So you have to be familiar with the policies of your particular school.
If I can add to Dr. B,
Hmm.
one of the tips we usually give to parents, I've worked in the higher ed setting for over 20 years, and one of the things when we separate parents is we actually inform them that even though FERPA protects the records and privacy of the student, they can talk to their daughters or sons or their child and determine what the workaround is. So one of the workaround is to ask your kid for the portal, especially because you might want to upload money so they can go to, whatever on their card for a dining hall or whatever it is. But you can have access to their portal, at least viewing access, and they can give it their password. They can also change it later. But the thing is, there's some workarounds there. So you would work through your student or your child to get that information on your own.
Yeah, that is so true. I can remember one year when I was teaching at Providence College in their master's program for school counseling, and a mom came in and she wanted to register her daughter for classes. And we told it, well, you can't do that. FERPA does not allow that. And we didn't have anything on file where the student had given her parent those rights because there is a form that they can sign and agree that their parents have access to their academic records and can call their professors. But God forbid, I can imagine my son having a fit if I called his professor to ask a
Yeah.
question.
So
He would disown me. He would have disowned me. That would not have happened at all. And and with the HIPAA, it's really important because say there's an emergency and something happens to your child, they're in an accident or
God forbid.
they can't just give you that information.
Mhm.
Every time we go to the doctors, they always make sure that your HIPAA record is up to date. And, you have to let them know who you want to have access to your records and what have you. It's going to be the same way when your child goes off to college. So it's important to have those conversations beforehand. You do not want to be having that conversation 3 o'clock in the morning, 500 miles away or what have you. So again, just think about getting those forms in place and having that conversation with your student. And with that, another topic is health insurance and immunizations. Oh, I spelled immunizations wrong. I left out the I. So anyone want to talk a little bit about that? What
I,
kind of, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, that's okay. What I was going to say, I guess it's maybe a little more health related than health insurance, but I like to tell parents to make sure, and it's great to start working on that before they leave for school, but make sure that um, your college student knows how to articulate what is wrong with them. If they don't feel well, how to talk to a doctor,
Mhm.
know their medications and things like that. Um, because when they're under our roof, sometimes you forget, that they may not know everything they need to know. But they really need to be able to, um, and also know where to go if they don't feel well, and what is going on. And they certainly need to know their insurance, know how you literally, hand them your insurance card and all of those things.
I'll chime in here. My son has a disability that I knew that he didn't know his history because I always handled everything. And so I literally had a conversation with him like, Joshua, this is what, you have, and this is this, and just all of that and of course I provided that to the health center at his school, but I also wanted to make sure that he didn't just seem totally ignorant if he had to be seen by a doctor at his, where he was in college.
That is so true, Cynthia. Thank you for sharing that with us because students need to know how to talk about what's going on with them.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, one of the side effects, I guess, of social media is that our students are so used to texting. They're so used to, communicating on different platforms that some of them haven't learned the basics of conversation and how to talk with people in real life. And that's something, and as silly as it sounds, that's something that's very, I see that a lot of times in students. So parents, practice with them, maybe not you, maybe have a family friend or somebody practice with them on how to have these conversations because they have to know how to advocate for themselves. That's one of the biggest changes from going from high school to college is you are your advocate. So
Mhm.
you need to know how to be able to tell people what you need, why you need it, and when you need it, and be able to justify it or have the documentation that you need. Um, it's funny, I was talking with a student one day, and in the course of it, she said something about doing laundry. So those basic skills, what do you folks say about having kids know basic skills?
It's super important that
Yes.
mom is not going to be there to wash anyone's clothes, nor dad. Not everything needs to go to the dry cleaner if that's the way that, that they might have been brought up. It might be a hard thing to do, but I think that teaching students, young people, how to wash clothes, how to clean up their room. They're going to be living with somebody else if they're not in a single room. But making them understand that not everybody lives the same way as them. So kind of be considerate. And when it comes to cooking, the basics are easy. Boil some water, throw some noodles in, watch it, don't burn it. Uh, Basic cooking classes on YouTube. YouTube can be everybody's best friend when it comes to that. But just for them to understand it's time for them to kind of step out on their own and not necessarily, lean on your parents or their parents so much to take care of them.
I think it definitely is important to, teach them how to wash and everything before they go. And then, and I don't want to sound sexist, but a lot of times, like with my son, I had to tell him that you have to change your sheets, definitely your pillowcases, because his skin was really breaking out. And I was like, Joshua, you just have to change your pillowcase. You can't just sleep on that oil over and over and think nothing's gonna happen. So that sounds very rudiment. Yeah, but anyway, you have to change your sheets. They're not going to magically be changed for you.
That is so true. I can remember one time when my son came home on a break, and of course they bring their laundry home,
Oh yeah.
and I said, "That's all you have for dirty sheets?" And I was like, "You haven't changed those sheets?
There you go.
Like, when was the last time you changed those sheets?
There you
That's
go.
why I gave you 3 sets. You're supposed
Yeah.
to change them." Oh, Ma, it doesn't matter. No, 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 no. You got to change those sheets, buddy.
Mhm.
So again, like you said, it's a very basic skill, but it's
Mhm.
it's knowing that. It's knowing that. So, folks that are listening to us that are in the audience, please let us know any comments that you have, any questions that you may have about transitioning to college. What is concerning you the most about what's going to happen with your student, or what may not happen with your student when they move out of your house and onto a college campus? So please, join in the conversation, because we would love, love, love to hear what you have to say. So, talking about families,
Mhm.
family communication strategy. Who's calling who? Who's checking in? Who's available? Are your kids answering those texts? Are they answering the phone? Um, what's the deal on that?
This is where technology has enabled many of us to become helicopter parents, and it's difficult when they leave initially for us to not know every step or place where they are. But I encourage you to let go, and you've done your part as a parent up to this point, and it comes to a matter of trusting both yourself and your child that they will learn, they will make mistakes just as we did, and they will grow into successful adults.
That is so true. I remember, back in the day, and I'm really like dating myself. So this is way before cell phones. This is when you lived in the dorm and you had the phone down on the first floor, and somebody had to answer the phone and then call up to your room and say you had a phone call or what have you. And my mother would call and like, where were you? They couldn't find you and what have you. And I'm like, well, I wasn't sitting here waiting for you to call me. So we had to come up with a plan on like when I would call or be available for a call. And then I remember when I moved into another dorm where the phone was actually in my room. That was interesting too, because I was experiencing campus life and hitting those late night parties sometimes. and mom would call, and that was before cell phones. So the phone rang in the room. And like, why weren't you in your room? And you're like, oh boy, here we go. So having those conversations. But like Rose Ellen said, with all the modern technology we have now, are you expecting your child to be available 24/7? Remember, not only are they going to classes, but they're acclimating to a new campus. They're getting involved probably in clubs and organizations. They're meeting new people. They're studying. So, don't mess with their study time. So that's definitely something to think about before your child goes off to campus. And speaking about clubs and organizations, what kind of advice would you give to students who are first year college students?
Get involved. Get
Okay.
involved.
Yeah, you don't want to just go to there and sit in your room, go to your classes and come back. And I had put in there, do it in moderation because one of my students, we were having a conversation. So he has just finished his first year at UNC Chapel Hill. And he was talking to a group of students. And one of the things he mentioned, he said, well, I joined 15 clubs and
Oh,
organizations. He said, and I really couldn't do 15 clubs and organizations, but when you go to the club fair, they have like
mhm.
like a science fair. All the clubs and organizations are out on the quad or wherever they happen to have them. He said everything looks so good, and I wanted to do everything, so I joined 15. He goes, was I able to really be involved in 15? No, he said. So this was for at the end of first semester when he was talking. He said, so second semester, I'm going to cut back on the number of clubs and organizations that I try to participate in.
That's good. That's good.
So what advice would you give to students who are unsure of what clubs and organizations they might want to be involved in? How would they get to learn about them beforehand?
They could go to the college website and see what type of organizations are there. And then maybe even piggyback in a sense off of the things they were involved in high school. The things that were, important to them or that they enjoyed. Those would be the things that I would tell them to maybe look at or target in the beginning.
Okay. Yep.
And some of my
Anyone else?
students are student athletes in high school, and they've decided they don't want to play at the college level. But I encourage them to, there's always club sports, intramural sports. You can get a pickup game, just something to keep yourself active, especially if you're going to this school and you're not necessarily going with a friend. You might not know anybody. You might not have met anybody during orientation. Um, but it's a chance for you to meet other people, other like-minded people that might enjoy the same things as you. And it gives you more of a sense of community and connection to the school to make your time there better, not just going to class and studying.
Right. So true. When
And if
you
I
when you
could
were
add,
saying, oh, sorry, go ahead.
oh, no, I was going to add that sometimes students, college is fun and there's a lot to do. But there are times where students may feel like, I can't find something that I fit in. Or, the organizations are great, but they really can't find something that they really want to do. They know that most colleges allow you to build it. You can contribute by
Yeah.
building your own club or organization,
Mhm.
finding the right faculty to sponsor your club or staff. That's something you can do too. So you don't have to get involved in everything, but you could also build something. So, make it fun for you, make it right for you.
Yes, I had a student at Spelman. She just graduated, and she created a Christian group. I don't want to say it was just a Bible study. It seems like it was something more than that, but maybe including that. And she got so many members that joined that Spelman or the AU Center gave her money to really make this organization, an established organization. So, yeah, you can definitely do that. One thing I do for my students that I know that they are of a different religion than I am, then I always try to find an organization that will be that for them. So I have worked with multiple Muslim students, and I'm Christian. So when I know that, like I have a student that just graduated from Georgetown, it was really important for me to see what type of, inclusion they had for Muslim students, especially with it being a Jesuit school. And he was like, they had their own prayer room, all of that. So I try to do that kind of stuff on my own to make sure that they're going to feel at home or feel like they belong.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so important. If Antoinette were here, I know one of the things that she would say is it's so important to find your people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, going into a new environment, whether you're going with students from high school or you don't know anyone, it's so important to find people that have similar interests to you, similar likes, who maybe you're in a learning and living community. Maybe by like Cynthia said, starting Cynthia and Lisa said, starting a club, but finding your people and not feeling like you have to find those people in the first 2 weeks. You got to give yourself time. Homesickness may set in, but you have to give yourself time. But remember, every first year student is feeling the same way that you're feeling. It's new for everybody. So take your time, find your people. Don't rush into anything. Just take advantage of all the options that are there on campus to help you learn about the campus. So one of the things I wanted to mention, and I'm not sure if I put this up here, so maybe this will go along with this about familiarizing yourself with the campus and the available resources. And I put as an example the Career Center. But before I talk about the Career Center, what about students who are transitioning to college that had accommodations in high school? What kind of advice would you give to those students and their parents?
For a couple of my students who they came out in the very beginning and let me know that they were already diagnosed with ADHD, and they were very strict and organized in how they worked in high school. And they asked me, like, Ms. Bird, what do we do when we go to college? And I'm like, well, usually they have resources where there's tutoring, there's learning centers, but it's on
Mm-hmm.
you to seek that out. There's nobody that's going to be there to hold your hand. So that could
Mm-hmm.
also be something part of orientation that you can ask for and specifically look out for. Reach out to your professors and see if there's any kind of additional help or assistance outside of study hours, maybe, or not study hours, professor hours. Maybe they, as long as you communicate to them in the beginning or up front, they might be able to be more of a help. But definitely don't sit back and wait for somebody to notice that all of a sudden things are falling apart.
Yeah, that's so true. That is so
Mm-hmm.
true.
I will
Yeah.
also add to that. That is so true because a lot of students they go to college and they, especially those who experiencing learning differences or mental health or emotional health issues, whatever kind of health issues, you need to know who's available on campus. And so paying attention during orientation, who's presenting from the not just career services, but the mental health office, psychological office, counseling office, disability services. Every college in the United States is required to provide accommodations. So you have to go and get yourself registered with them so they know that you will need accommodations. So if you need it, whether it's physical accommodation, you need a special desk or chair or someone to come and do note taking or extra time on your test, you need to be registered with your disability services office. So knowing those services, pay attention during orientation. There's a lot of talking heads, but they're very important people who can help you transition into college with any kind of services you need.
Yes, that is so important, Lisa. Um, and actually, students, if they do require accommodations for different learning styles, that's something I hope that they did their research as they were looking for
Yes.
colleges and including colleges on their list, that they found out what does this college offer? Because some colleges' services are more robust than others.
Mm-hmm.
Some may be free, some may have a cost to them. Um, so, and every college is different. So it's really important when you're going on, when our students are going on those college tours, if they've been receiving accommodations in high school, that they also ask about what's available to them on that campus and what do they need to do to access those services. I was hoping I had my book that I could show you, but one of the resources that I use quite a bit and that I recommend to parents when their students do need disability services, that beforehand that they read Elizabeth Hamlet's new book, and I'll actually put that in the show notes. And Elizabeth Hamlet is a person, she works with in disability services, is an expert in disability services, and her newest book really gives you fantastic information about all the things that parents and students need to expect when they're looking for disability services. And here's the thing, though. If you sign up for disability services, use them.
Yeah.
Your first year at college is not the time to say, all right, I'm going to go it alone. Figure this out. I'm grown now. I don't need the help. That is not the time to do that. That is not the time.
Piggybacking on what everyone has said, I think it's also really important for parents as well as students to be honest with your IECs who are here to support you and to provide you with guidance through the process. And we, as colleagues, we can only do that with your assistance in providing us with accurate information. So I encourage parents and students to be honest early on in the process, so that will help us to guide you properly to the appropriate resources.
Yes, I agree.
That is so true. There's nothing more disheartening than when you helped a student create a college list, you're going through the information, and then all of a sudden you find out that a neuropsych evaluation was done and it's showing some learning disabilities. And you're looking at your list and you realize your list isn't compatible with their learning disabilities. So that's information that really helps IECs, your school counselor, whoever's assisting you in making sure that you have a list that works for you. So again, just thinking about that and know what the policies are. This is one that makes me laugh. So this one I think about once students have gotten to campus and they are starting classes, and sometimes the syllabus is available before classes begin. Read your syllabus, folks. Anyone want to talk about that and the importance of reading the syllabus?
Other than to say I 100% agree, and it's a simple thing to do, and they should do it, so that you have some idea of what you're going to be up for. And yeah, I think that's a great idea. And actually, putting major assignments on your calendar, I think that's another thing that is important once you read that syllabus, so that you're not, know that you've got a 10-page paper due in November. You don't want to start working on it like the 1st of November, maybe. So yeah, I think that's great to look at the syllabus for sure.
And to piggyback on that, when it comes to dates, as a person who actually missed one of her finals, thinking that she was on top of everything, so important to write down those important dates that are more than likely mentioned in the syllabus, if not repeated in the class, but definitely in the syllabus.
Yes. Yep. And one of the things to remember
and if I may,
oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to add that syllabus is your contract with the teacher, that you agree with everything he or she's saying that's going to happen in that classroom. So if you're not reading that contract, many bright and brilliant students have fallen short because they didn't read the syllabus. For example, how many days do you get where you could miss class, right? What happens when you have a late assignment? What's going to happen there? What's the policy on makeup exams? Do they curve? Do they not curve? Um, can they have you, do they close your door at the beginning of class? So if you are late, you don't get in, you've actually missed the class. Do they allow you to record? So you need to read that particular contract. You're agreeing with that teacher saying that everything that you say is exactly what I'm agreeing to, and I'm sitting down in this classroom. And then someone else mentioned, remember those dates. Know when is the last day to add or drop that class or withdraw.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing all those terminologies is going to be something to kind of get through the terminologies. But anyone in student services or another upper division student or upper class student can help with the terminologies, but know those terminologies and what they mean when they say withdraw versus drop a class, etc.
That is so important, Lisa, all of that information. And students need to understand, so many times there will be reading assignments on the syllabus that may not be discussed in class, but you are still responsible for that reading, whether it's toward an exam or a quiz or for writing a paper or for a classroom discussion. But if the professor has on the syllabus, read chapters 3 and 4, and the professor only talks about chapter 3 in class, you're still responsible for chapter 4. It doesn't go away. So again, I love the way you described it, Lisa, as a contract. It really is. It's a contract between you and the professor about the expectations for class and what the requirements are to get the grade that you desire in class. Now, if you don't care about your grades, but I'm sure your parents do. So please, make sure you're reading that. Make sure you're reading that syllabus. And if you have questions, and I think Angela mentioned it. If you have questions in class and you're not quite sure of what's going on, go to office hours. All professors are required to hold office hours, and the times of their office hours are on that syllabus. And it's important, and especially, I remember as a first generation college student, I didn't understand the importance of office hours because it wasn't a conversation we had at home. And it really wasn't until, I want to say, it really wasn't until my junior year in college that I started taking advantage of office hours, and realizing, oh, this is their office hours. I don't have to make an appointment. I can go and see if they're available during that time slot. And if they're busy with the student, you can either wait or come back within that time period. But again, and think of office hours, as a time to have a conversation about something that you need clarification on in class, or just as a time to build a relationship with that professor. The professors in your undergraduate program are the professors who are going to be writing your recommendations for graduate school. Let them know who you are outside of the classroom. So think about that, and think about, what's the importance of doing that. Just another thing, and so much of this can be done online now, but banking, money's a big deal. How are we, banking, having a budget? What expenses are you responsible for? What expenses are your parents going to help you with? So does anyone want to speak on that a little bit, or share any experiences they had with their own children around this?
Well, I'll share. My daughter, who's the oldest, she would set up a weekly budget, and so she would literally at the beginning of the week she would write down everything that she was going to have to spend money on that week, laundry, whatever. And it worked well for her. She knew if if there was something special coming up and she needed to ask us for more money. When she started working, she was able to budget her money and so forth. And so that, I think that's very important.
Mhm.
My son did not do that. But I do think, regardless of the agreement between parent and student, you know, whether it's a set amount you're giving them or whatever. It's very important for the student to understand, you know, what they can use their money for, you know, what they can't use their money for, and how to budget that, and if they need, you know, and actually, and if they're going to work, that's another conversation. And if they are, what will that money go to, and so forth.
Yeah. My son worked for 3 of the 4 years he was in college, and he and I, and we both still do bank at a credit union. And so he was sending his checks home for me to deposit when he just could have turned in a thing to, I guess, whoever did the payroll to have it direct deposit. And I just let this go on till it just got on my nerves. And I ended up sending him, I guess, a deposit slip or something for his account so that it would do it there. I was like, why am I doing this? And I did that for almost 2 years. And so I don't even think he knew what direct deposit was. So just to let you know, don't be like me.
Yes, learn from our lessons. Learn from our lessons.
Mm-hmm.
I think our youngest son, when he was in college, his first year, you know, we were just, yeah, he's in college, he's doing good, and not forcing him to set up a budget, so he would run out of money very quickly, and then you'd get those calls. Can you put some money on my card or in my account? And I'm like, I've been adding this up. That's a lot of money. Like you need to use that meal plan and go in that cafeteria and stop with those fast food places on campus and in the surrounding area. So it took us a while, but we got that together. Like, yeah, well, if you run out, you're just done until the next month. So
right.
So work on that budget.
Mm-hmm. I just want to take a moment to applaud Amy's daughter. I mean, that is great that she was on it, had a week by week budget. Oh my goodness, I'm impressed.
I was impressed, actually. Yes.
I still don't have a budget yet. You know, so I'm really impressed.
Week by week at that. Yeah. Goodness.
That is so good. So folks, again, if you'd like to join in the conversation, please let us know. You know, just throw something in the chat and come back and let us know what questions you have, what concerns you have. So one of the things I'd love to do, and to encourage people to engage with us, I'm thinking about doing a giveaway. So there's this wonderful book, and I had the opportunity to talk to the author when we were at the Seattle conference, and it's called How to College: What to Know Before You Go and When You're There. So if you are interested in being put into the raffle to get this, you will have to, let me see if I can get the screen up here. You will have to, in the comment section, put #transition. So before we end this, if people have responded that way, we will do a drawing. If no one responds, I'll keep the book. So folks, what last bit of information or advice or strategies would you like to share with students and with parents? Anything in particular on any one of these subjects or a different one?
Another book that I typically recommend, and it's been around at least 10 years, maybe 20, as far, because, you know, these roommate situations can get very interesting and tough. So I usually recommend The Naked Roommate for my students, because it has different scenarios of things that can happen and how to handle it.
Okay, and that's The Naked Roommate by Harlan Coben, I think it is.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and he revises that and updates it on a regular basis. It is. It's a good read. It's a good read. Anything else that you'd like to share with parents and with students?
I wanted to go ahead.
Go ahead, Angela.
For the health insurance part, a lot of students will come with their own private insurance. So it's important for parents and students to look to see if there's providers in their area, depending on where the school is. Being from California, you go to school in Virginia, you might have Kaiser, and there is no Kaiser in
Mm.
Virginia. So
Mhm.
knowing how to use the local resources, because your on-campus nurse or facility can only do but so much.
Mhm.
But doing a search as to who can take your private insurance is something that I think students and parents should be on the lookout for and be prepared for, just in case something happens.
Another to add on to that, and you're absolutely right, and great advice, is that well, at least my son's college, you had until a certain day to waive the college's insurance because it was automatically put on your bill, and we did have private insurance, and I would be on my son like right on rice to make sure that he waived that because it was expensive. I mean, it covered everything, but it was expensive. So that's
That is
another
so
thing.
true. So we
Mhm.
have one person that's commented. Um, Titus Graves said, and the person corrected their spelling, but they said they have the book that you mentioned, Miss Cynthia. So
Okay,
they
great.
have a copy of The Naked Roommate.
All
So
right.
thank you
Great.
so much for joining in. Hey, so we're trying to get more people to put in the word hashtag transition in order to receive a copy of How to College. So again, if you're interested in getting a copy of the book, put in the comment section, hashtag transition. We have one person so far that's participating. We'd like to get a couple more so we can really make it a drawing. So again, think about doing that. Hashtag transition. Let's put that in there. Other words of wisdom.
Um, I used to work on college campuses, and I think it's pretty safe to say that um, there are students every year who don't make it, right? There are always some freshmen
Mhm.
who don't return. They flunk out or whatever. And I think it's probably safe to say that 99% of those students were completely capable. They were smart enough, they could do the work. And but what they couldn't do was manage their time.
Mm.
And whether that's managing between doing work and having fun, or it could be relationships, there are a lot of things that can take your time in college. And the biggest difference between high school and college is, yes, you may have taken 8 classes or 7 or 8 classes in high school, right? Every semester and so forth. But you also had those scheduled.
Mhm.
You had you were at home, and someone that was probably making sure you did your homework
Mhm.
or something. And you had very little free time, so to speak. And
Mhm.
in college, as we know, it's quite different, right? You could have a day where you're only in class for 2 hours or something,
Mhm.
and you need to know and figure out what you're going to do the rest of those hours,
Mhm.
because you have to be ready for class and all of those things. So, you know, um, and I always like to tell students, freshman year, take it easy on yourself. The first semester, freshman year, is not the semester to try to prove that you can, have the hardest schedule and take as many classes and try to take an overload or whatever. That's not the time. That time will come, but your first semester is not the time. And it's just really, because it's really hard to bounce back
Mhm.
from
Yes.
a
Low GPA.
low GPA freshman year.
Mhm.
It's just hard. Not that it can't be done, and you still will go off and be a great adult and all of that, but so I just think time management is key. And if you don't really have those skills, there's someone on campus who literally teaches study skills.
Mhm.
There's always something
Mhm.
or someone. There's a resource.
Yes. Just piggybacking on what Amy said, there are resources for everything, and your
Mhm.
tuition dollars are paying for them already.
Absolutely. Mhm.
So use everything that the college has to offer you: the tutoring center, the writing center, accommodations if you need accommodations. Go to that fitness center because you're paying for those. You're paying for
That's right.
those nice exercise bikes and all those
Mhm.
weight rooms and
Mhm.
what have you. And you want to stay healthy. So again, everything that is on campus, use it to your advantage because you are paying for it already. Take advantage of peer tutoring,
Mhm.
whatever they have available. Make sure you do that. If there are opportunities to go to study sessions, go
Mm.
to the study sessions.
Mhm.
It's really, really important that you set a standard for yourself and a structure and a routine for yourself so that, come 4 years, you're where you need to be.
On that note about structure and routine, parents, please stop waking up your son or daughter to go to school. This is a year of transition. They should be starting to get into the routine of waking up in their senior year, going to school. Because guess what? You won't be there when you're in your freshman year. And if unless you're going to plan on doing that, right? If you plan to do that and call them every morning, then that's fine. But this is the year of transition, and along those same lines around communication plan or strategies, remember to send them care packages.
Mm.
Oh, yeah.
It's something to see the kids when they go to wherever they pick up mail and they're like, oh, I have a box. It's such a thing for them. And so send them care packages. Could be small, could be $5, it could be $10 worth of whatever goodies that they remember from home. Send them care packages. They're going to love that coming from you.
I love that you mentioned care packages, Lisa. So, because I was the first out of all of my cousins to attend college, my late grandmother, who actually had at one point been a sharecropper, understood the importance of education. And I would get these cards from her that had $5.
Oh, you were rich.
And I used to say to myself, now what am I going to do with $5? But I've kept some of the cards where she wrote notes to me.
Mhm.
And when I look back at those today, that $5 was like a million because
Mhm.
she was in another state, away from me, but she was letting me know that she supported me in what I was doing in the best way she could. So that $5, and when I talked to my cousin, who's about 3 or 4 years younger than me, when he went to college, he goes, "Oh, you got those cards from Granny too?" I'm like, "Yes."
Oh,
So we
oh,
were we were comparing notes on getting cards from Granny with $5 in it,
love
but
it.
it was out of love, and it was so
Mm,
appreciated. So appreciate it. So,
absolutely.
so folks, we're going to be closing out the giveaway. So for those of you that are still with us, if you want an opportunity to win a book, How to College, What to Know Before You Go, and when you're there, please put in hashtag transition in the comment section in order to be eligible for the drawing. And you have about 30 seconds to do that before we close out. Any other comments that folks would like to make to people?
I encourage people to get excited.
Mhm.
Wonderful time to go through the process and to be able to send your child off to college and use this year of time for transition just to prepare, to have conversations on all of the topics that were mentioned, and really
Whoops.
everything that is coming your way.
Thank you so much. That is, that's most important. Enjoy it, while you're doing all the serious stuff. Ladies, I thank you so much for being here this evening. Folks, this is my group. This is my posse. This is my Find Your People. And hopefully you'll be seeing some of these faces again, because we would like to come to you as a group and just share our knowledge and expertise with the families out there, because we know people have so many questions about transitioning to college, going to college, preparing for college, all the stuff around post-secondary education. So if any of you do have any concerns or a topic that you would like us to address, please let me know, and I will make sure that this esteemed group of IECs gets back to you, and we will do a session. So if there's something that you want us to talk about in particular, please send me an email, drb@stepstothefuture.com, and we will make sure that we do a future episode that addresses your concerns. So with that being said, ladies, I appreciate you so much for being here. And again, like I said, I hope to see you in the future doing another one. And Titus, you are the winner of the book. So this is the book. Let me make sure that you can see the full title of the book. So this is the book, How to College. And it's really good, has great information in it.
Titus, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Titus was my student, and he has a full ride to Emerson College. He has one of the Creative Circle, one of 10 of the Creative Circle scholarships.
Oh my God, that's fantastic,
Yeah.
Titus. So Titus, in order to get your book, just send me an email to the let me get my email back up there. Send your information to me, your address and what have you, to this email, and I will make sure you get a copy of this book before you head off to college. That is wonderful. Ooh, those are the kind of stories we love to hear.
Yep.
Those are the kind of stories we love to hear. So folks, again, thank you for being here. Titus, thank you for being an active participant in tonight's conversation. For people who are watching this on the replay, please, if you have any comments, you can still put it in the comment section, because I do monitor this on a regular basis. And share it with friends, share it with family, share it with colleagues, whoever you think would benefit from this conversation. And hopefully I will be back, not hopefully, I'll be back next week with a conversation. I haven't chosen the topic yet, but you might see some of the same faces. But I will see you next week, everyone. And again, thank you so much for being here. And we have a comment here from Titus.
Okay, you're welcome, Titus. He's one of the sweetest students I've ever worked with.
Nice.
Really,
that is so nice. That's what we love to hear. Titus, thank you again for joining us. We really appreciate it. Ladies, hang on while I end the broadcast. Folks, see you next Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time.
All right.